Welcome, everyone. Let me go ahead and go over the antitrust with everyone. It is the policy of the OmniAir Consortium that the organization, its officers, board of directors, members, and participants in its activities shall comply in all respects with federal and state antitrust and/or fair competition laws, regulations, and rules as may be applicable. Accordingly, no activity or discussion at any OmniAir-sponsored meeting or other function relating to competition or relating to practices that may restrain trade is permitted. Such prohibited topics include establishing prices, allocating markets, encouraging boycotts, regulating production, or any other understanding or agreement that may be construed as anti-competitive. And Jason, I will turn it back over to you.
Well, thank you, Brenda, and thank you to everybody for taking the time to join us for our first monthly membership meeting of the year. We do these once a month, 1 p.m. Eastern on the fourth Thursday of the month. And we also repeat that at 9 p.m. Eastern the same day. But for our members in Asia, we have roughly 25 to 30% of our membership in Asia, and we want to make sure that they're up to date on everything happening with OmniAir. We're going to go through some OmniAir updates, including a little bit of discussion about our upcoming Plugfest in Michigan. And we'll do our reports from the working groups, and then we will turn the floor over to our guest speaker, Mr. PJ Wilkins, who's not only the executive director of E-ZPass Group, but is the newly elected chair of the OmniAir Board of Directors, and I'm sure he will have a lot to share with you for his vision of OmniAir and what it means to interoperability in the transportation community. So without further ado, let's get started. So, of course, OmniAir's membership spreads across a wide cross-section of the transportation community. We have device makers, automotive OEMs, tier one suppliers, deployers of ITS and tolling, test labs, test equipment providers, and I think that mix helps give us a 360-degree view of the challenges associated with connected vehicles and tolling testing and certification. And if you know of organizations that you think would benefit being an OmniAir member, please do send them our way. We have some board elections that happened in December. We are very pleased to welcome PJ Wilkins as our new chair. Steve Novosad, the former chair, is now our vice chair. Jeff Daly has been elected treasurer, and Frank Perry of WSP is now secretary. Next, please. Congratulations to our new officers. So, just a gentle reminder, I know most of you have paid your dues, but if you haven't, that deadline is fast approaching. You should have received a notice or two from us already. Would love to work with you. If you have any questions or issues with dues payment, you can pay online using our secure Stripe payment portal for credit cards, or via ACH, or just a good old-fashioned physical check in the mail. So again, reach out to Brenda Cantlow, and she'll be happy to help you with any dues issues you have. Next, please. This is for OmniAir, the year of connected interoperability. This is a phrase that the US DOT made very prominent in some of the literature they put out in October associated with the V2X Summit, but I think it really captures the essence of everything OmniAir is doing across the tolling and connected vehicle spaces. We have launched the world's first, and I think only, full stack certification program for CV2X OBUs, RSUs, and now, starting in December, we have started to offer that for modules. We've received our first several applications for module certification. We have a nice pipeline of devices that are being tested right now in the laboratories for CV2X certification. And we continue to offer our RFID tolling certification in a single protocol state, but in the coming months, we will be opening the door for multi-protocol tolling certification. That is really, really, really close to the finish line. We'll be launching that probably before the next monthly membership call. So excited about that. Lots of great things happening here at OmniAir, and we're pushing the envelope forward, pushing the envelope beyond just device certification. We're looking at application certification. We have a working group on that and another one on aftermarket safety devices. Our goal is to ensure the availability of trusted communications devices ready for deployment, truly ready, because they've been tested and certified by independent accredited laboratories using qualified test systems and in many cases authorized field test sites. So if you have questions about certification or how to get involved in working groups, reach out to Burkender or myself, and we're happy to help you and get you involved. Next, please. Just a reminder for everybody, the draft accelerating the V2X deployment plan was released in late October. The USDOT is accepting comments. We've been going through a comment process through our coordinating council and our working group chairs. We're putting pen to paper right now. We should be releasing our comments next week. We'd encourage any organizations to also submit your own comments. You can follow the QR code here to do that. Deadline is January 31st. Also, there was a notice of funding opportunity announced at the same time as this draft plan was released. And that deadline was the 17th of January, but has been extended to the 31st. So if you're running late on submission, you still have a few days to go. Next, please. And helping the device makers to prepare for deployment and to prepare for certification, we do our Plug Fest twice a year, and we have had great luck in Michigan, working with M-City, University of Michigan, and beautiful Ann Arbor. We're going back to M-City. This will be the first time in 2 years that we're back in Michigan. We're very excited about that. They have a fantastic world-class CAV test facility, and we have the entire run of it for the week of May 13th. We have opened early bird registration. That pricing will be available through Valentine's Day. So that is a steep discount, about a 33% discount from the typical pricing for testing teams, devices under test, or test stations. We're going to do some really interesting things. We're talking to some great partners. We're already partnered with the University of Michigan Transportation Research Institute. We're talking with the U.S. Department of Transportation about how we can partner in some of the testing on this. And we'll be doing some parallel technical learning sessions, some professional capacity building demonstrations, as well as a one-day symposium on the University of Michigan campus. So I really can't wait for this event. If you have questions, you want to get involved early, reach out to Ryan Hall. We just did our first meeting of our technical preparation group that's meeting on a bi-weekly cadence. That was this morning. And if you want to get involved in that and help shape the testing that happens at PlugFest, reach out again to Ryan or myself, and we're happy to get you involved. Next, please. And as Ryan tells me, the pricing discount this big is not just early bird pricing, it's super early bird pricing.
Early bird pricing, and it's not going to last. So February 15th, take advantage of this sweetheart of a deal, and you have to pay it online. So it's not for it to be invoiced later. I mean, if you want to save really big for this one, because it's a big plug fest, but we want early registration. We want to show that we have some great momentum early on. That really helps as we try to sell it further as we get closer into the year. So please, if you're looking to save a considerable amount of money, this is it.
Excellent. I think that's fantastic. And you're going to have sponsorship opportunities, right, as well?
I will. I'll have some sponsorship opportunities for everyone, because I'm working with Umtree right now, putting together a symposium, a one-day symposium. Lots of demos and demonstrations. We have a really large facility to host the conference. So if you want to set up a displays or tabletops and talk about things and demos in addition to testing, I'll have all of that in the coming weeks. So stay tuned for that as well.
Excellent, excellent. And then I think that we will be talking about this to the state DOTs on Monday. Randy and I are on the sort of the deployers meeting that the US DOT hosts early next week. So we'll be talking a little bit more about that in detail, and you'll see some more information coming in the next few months. But we really do want to get in those test stations and some of those early devices so we can start planning that testing schedule, and you can ensure your slot. So next question, next slide, and if you have questions, reach out to Ryan. This, of course, is the famous M-City, just a really wonderful environment. They've received just recently a $10 million grant to improve the facility, put in 4K cameras and remote testing, especially for autonomous vehicles. We're going to try to utilize some of that capability. So if you have engineering teams that are off-site and you're participating, then there will be an opportunity for them to kind of plus up their participation in that. So we're doing a lot of things we've done before, but also some very new things. And if you're part of that technical PlugFest prep group, you'll hear Aaron Moore talk about some of those big ideas at the next meeting in 2 weeks. Next, please. But of course, just like that one group, we have 10 different working groups and sub-working groups that are very active in all areas of OmniAir. We have the technical working group led by Frank Perry, our cybersecurity by Brian Romansky, our certification policy group, Mick Conley, who's on staff, is leading that in the interim, but he is looking to hand that off to a full-time volunteer member chair. So if you know of anyone who's interested, is the right fit for that, please do reach out to us. Jake Royer, RFID tolling, and then road usage charge, Stella Joseph. That's become a very, very active group, a relatively new group. Probably our most active group this year has been the aftermarket safety devices, because we all know that aftermarket market is really, really heating up. I've personally seen a number of our members with small form factor and different OBUs for different environments, use cases for transit or bicycles or emergency vehicle fleets. So there's going to be a lot of really great opportunity there. Applications, a lot of what we're going to do in the field testing at PlugFest is application testing. Tom Timcho spearheading that effort. 1609.2.1. If you read anything in that NOFO, or if you read anything in that deployment plan, you know the importance of SCMS interoperability. This is the pathway to that, and we have been working that group with Woody Kim from Sasol Tech for the past year. We're about ready to finalize some test cases and have those ready for PlugFest. So if you want to get involved, you really want to understand that requirement that's coming down for everybody, I encourage you to join that sub-working group. Nick Hegemeyer, connected infrastructure. We're really doing some great things this year, not just looking at the LTV to X RSUs, but a blend of different sensors and technologies that'll be coming together at the infrastructure and at the intersection, and how do we validate those. All that's happening in that group. And of course, I mentioned before, Aaron Moore, really doing a great job leading PlugFest testing. So always an opportunity to join. You can join on our website, or you can send a note to Brigenda and we'll get you involved. But now let's go through and just do a couple of quick updates before we introduce our guest speaker. Certification Working Group. Mr. Mick Conley, are you on the call, sir? So that group has been, yes, sir. Go ahead.
You want me to read all of them or just this particular one?
Start with this one. I think that'd be great.
All right. Yeah, Certification Working Group really is the group that deals primarily with the certification policy, and also looks at some specific documents that are coming through. We've just looked at the certification scope for 751 module, and then the certification policy document itself, numbered 722, is going through a 2-year review. There will be some normative important language in there that has come through this working group. So we'll have that ready for a 14-day review soon. That's certification work.
And I don't think I see Brian Romansky, so you might want to go ahead and do the cybersecurity working group as well.
Yeah, Brian sent a note he wasn't able to join today. Certification cybersecurity working group is the primary group, but also has 2 what we call tiger teams with a lot of heavy lifting in there. So they are creating new test cases, kind of focusing on negative test cases in the 1609 2.1, and on 1609.2, they're taking some change requests out of the IEEE and crafting those into OmniAir test specifications. So a lot of effort, a lot of progress in that working group.
Excellent, sir. Thank you so much. And we have two sub-working groups hanging on that working group. So that tells you is there's a lot of work to do if you want to roll up your sleeves, get involved, or you have colleagues who are more on the cybersecurity or work with SCMS and they want to be involved. Please do that. I think one of the strengths of that group is that we have representation from 6 or 7 different SCMS providers, and I think that's why we're able to make so much progress toward SCMS interoperability. I see we have Mr. Perry chairing our technical working group. Would you like to give us an update, sir?
Sure. Thanks, Jason. So technical working group, we are reviewing and possibly updating the module certification, test specification, and overall scope. So from a module certification, really it focuses on, just as it says, right, just the module, just the kind of the radio and the stack components. So if you don't have a full device, you know, full piece of hardware you know, you want to get certified, you can start with just the module, just kind of the main components of the device. We're also developing a UCAM test spec, and I apologize, I don't remember what the UCAM stands for, but basically it's a test interface between a device center test and the test equipment that allows for kind of more interaction between the two devices. So for example, if we send data to the device in which we would expect the device to issue an alert or warning to the driver, this interface allows the device to then send that notification back to the test equipment that says, yes, I issued a warning. So that, you know, that this is trying to automate that process, so we don't have to, you know, have somebody in a vehicle in field testing with the clipboard marking off whether we got an alert or not. We're getting information directly from the device. And then also we're looking at device interoperability test specification. So as Jason said, you know, a lot of focus on interoperability this week or this year. So we're putting pen to paper to put a test specification together that focuses strictly on interoperability. Back to you, Jason.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Next slide, please. Plug test technical planning. I can just tell you that we had our first meeting today. It was really well attended. We had good participation from IMCity, USDOT showed up and weighed in a little bit there. We're starting to think through what we can and what we want to test there. Also getting a better understanding of what additional capabilities IMCity has built in the past 2 years. We'll try to bring the IMCity folks here for a future monthly membership meeting to kind of give us a full show and tell. But one thing that really impressed me is that with the $10 million grant they've gotten, they've made remote testing now capable for that facility, and I think we're going to try to utilize that in some way. So that group meets on a bi-weekly cadence and 9 a.m. on the 4th Thursday of the month. If you're interested, reach out. Connected infrastructure, which is what we formerly called the RSU sub-working group. Maybe Frank, I don't see Nick here, but Frank, would you like to give a quick update there?
Yeah, so the RSU working group is working on developing test cases for NTCIP 1218, as well as for mesh's functionality requirements as outlined in CTI 4001. So it's kind of been their focus for a while, or for a couple of months, and we're finalizing that document.
Well, you can't rest quite yet because it looks like Tom Timshow's not here. Would you mind giving us a quick update on the VitaX application group?
Okay, so we're looking to set up bench testing for emergency electronic emergency brake light notification. So that kind of goes along with the UCAM interface, where we're able to, do kind of end-to-end testing on the bench rather than relying on field testing and having somebody in the vehicle kind of, checking a box whether got an alert or not.
So we're going to take application testing, and we're coming up with a methodology that will allow sort of a higher volume of tests to scale a little bit more in a bench environment. So I think that's great. And then I know that Sean has been leading a sub-working group focused on the UCAM usage, and I think there's a lot there, and I'd certainly encourage you guys to get involved in this working group if you have an interest in the area. I see we have Mr. Jake Royer here. Would you like to give us a quick update on what's happening in the tolling world?
Yeah, so in the tolling group, we're working on the 825 tag programming test specifications. That's in progress. We do need to get some more resources devoted to that to get that completed so that we can complete the certifications. We also are going to be doing a multi-protocol device conformance test tool review, hopefully in the next few weeks. And then we've also going to be reviewing the new 6C Coalition revised specifications. They've gone to a new version 4 of the 6C specs. And so we want to make sure that the OmniAir certification is up to speed with what the current specs are.
Excellent. I understand you're taking recruits. So if we have folks in the tolling world who want to kind of roll up their sleeves and get involved, you can put them to work, Jake.
Oh, yes. Please. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. All right, one more slide, and then we have our guest speakers. So certification. Oh, yep, road usage charging. I know Stella Joseph is traveling internationally. I'll just quickly go over this. That working group has a relatively new chair. We've taken a fresh look at what's happening. It's now been elevated to working group status. We're continuing to focus on stakeholder outreach and the developing requirements for certification. We do have several state DOTs that are actively involved in this, including Oregon DOT and Caltrans, as well as some vendors and consultants in this space. We've been doing a series of presentations by different subject matter experts and making sure that everyone's on the same goal, or on the same page for our goals for testing and certification. I know the group is looking to do a workshop sometime maybe in Q2 or Q3. So if you have an interest in being involved there and in that world of road usage charge or mileage-based user fees, depending on where you are in the country, very important work, and we're going to continue to plow ahead. Aftermarket safety devices. Do we have Roger Vavor from Danlaw?
Yeah, I don't see him on.
Mick, just go ahead and give us the update.
Sure. Yeah, as Jason mentioned a little earlier, this is a very active group. We get some high participation in it, relatively new. The goal is to accelerate certification for non-OEM OBUs that are installed, which happens to be the dominant market now. We have classified different types of vehicles from VRU, fleet, light vehicles with a whole set of use cases and requirements to discuss in each of those categories. And we have some substantial contributions from some members already. So we're proceeding down the path of creating a certification scope and specification for aftermarket safety devices.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And next slide. As always, we have an opportunity to get you involved. You can participate in as many working groups as you like as an OmniAir member, or you or your colleagues. You just have to click on that QR code and fill out the application, and I guarantee you'll be accepted. So Ms. Burkinda Cantlow is your point of contact, and you can reach out to her right there if you have questions about that, or if you have ideas for new working groups or tiger teams or subgroups, where you think there's an issue that really needs a group to kind of help drive it forward. Talk to us about it. We're happy to have a chat. So now I would like to introduce our guest presenter. very pleased to welcome Mr. PJ Wilkins, who is not only the executive director of E-ZPass, he is also the recently elected OmniAir board chair. And I think, PJ, correct me if I'm wrong, that you are the longest serving, continuous serving OmniAir board member, at least in my time. So we're very excited to have you at the helm here. PJ brings a wealth of experience in transportation, leading the E-ZPass group for over 10 years, and prior to that, with Delaware Tolling Authority, where he had various senior leadership positions, and has just done an outstanding job in promoting what I think is the most successful example of transportation interoperability, at least here in North America. And I know, PJ and I have talked about what that takes. And what I think is interesting to me is that one of the things he said, it's not just the technology, but it's the people. And I think that's a mark of his success, is being able to kind of bring everybody together for that purpose. So with that, I'm going to ask PJ just to maybe share a little bit about his story, and then some of his kind of vision and goals for where OmniAir heads in 2024 and beyond.
Well, thank you, Jason, and welcome all. Thank you for having me here today. Jason, that was a heck of a build up to my guest speaker role, when all I really intended to do and plan on doing is, as you said, introduce myself to those who don't know me, and maybe answer a question or two about why I'm involved in OmniAir, why I believe so strongly in it, and hopefully clarify kind of the what I see as kind of the intersection of tolling and connected vehicles, and the future changes that are likely to come. So first, I'd like to say that I'm honored to have been elected chair of the OmniAir board. And I really want to thank, first and foremost, Steve, the executive committee, and the entire board for all the amazing things that they have done over the years. And I just hope I can live up to the high bar that they have set for me. So many of you here know me. Some I don't believe we've been introduced yet. But let me start by saying I am not an expert in connected vehicles, V2X, telematics. So why am I taking on this role? OmniAir is at its core about interoperability. And interoperability is what my other job, my day job, is all about. I'm the executive director of the E-ZPass Group, which is, as many of you know, the world's largest, arguably most successful interoperable tolling group. We've gotten to be huge. It didn't start that way, but interoperability is the sole purpose for that. In 1989, it became evident that electronic tolling was going to change our industry forever. We have a lot of travelers, especially here in the Northeast, that transit state and regional boundaries on a daily basis, from New York into New Jersey into New York, and so on. And as that technology was starting to come, we recognized that there was an opportunity that we could work together to establish one system here regionally, so that you wouldn't have to have 6 different toll accounts with 6 different toll tags stuck up on your windshield. You could have so many tags on your windshield you wouldn't be able to see out of the windshield. So we knew we'd have to create something that was interoperable, and that's what we set out to do. We started modestly. We had about 7 toll agencies in 3 states: New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. After organizing, we put on a joint procurement for technology, and we started building file specifications, and we put out RFPs individually for back office systems to get all the pieces in place. And some of you guys were actually around. Mike Kolb, I'm looking at you, one of the very early helpers in having us put together the system that we ended up with today. And so we have this procurement. We get it all put into place, and we're kind of learning as we go. We have some consulting work done, and the industry's got great consultants, and they said, this thing is going to take off. It's going to be very successful. You're going to end up with about 1 million customers. is what we think will happen. Well, they missed the mark by a little bit, as you can imagine. Today, we went live in 1993, which was, by the way, the first true interstate interoperability of electronic toll collection. And we've grown steadily since. Today, more than 50 toll agencies use the E-ZPass system in 20 states, and more than, not 1 million, currently 53 million toll devices are on the road and registered in our program. Another fun fact is that a few years ago, Fortune magazine listed E-ZPass as one of the 100 best things about America. I thought that was phenomenal. We came in at number 66, right after Clint Eastwood. So there you have it, for whatever that's worth. So the E-ZPass group members consist of the whole gamut, right? From small agencies to very large agencies, largest, in the country, agencies that still use traditional equipment and gates, to agencies that do all electronic tolling, that do managed lanes, that do central business district tolling, things like, we run the whole gamut. So it's a very diverse ecosystem. In order to be successful, we thoroughly test all of our technology to make sure that all of our members and all of our customers can conduct business seamlessly. That's why we are in OmniAir. Some of you may be surprised to know that OmniAir didn't start out as a connected vehicle or C-V2X organization. It was created by the tolling industry in order to advance interoperability beyond those regional cases that were in place then. So today, of course, OmniAir does that and does so much more. And so why am I excited about where OmniAir is positioned? Well, first, I believe OmniAir plays a critical role in the future of CAVs. We've recognized how important certification is in making sure that equipment works seamlessly, that the program works seamlessly and safely. In order to achieve interoperability and reliability, true interoperability and reliability, you have to be able to trust your equipment, your file specifications, your all the things that make it tick from front to back. And I believe that OmniAir is expertly situated to provide those services. OmniAir is not just a leader in this effort, but it's well positioned to advance all those initiatives and many more. I believe personally that the intersection of connected vehicles and tolling is becoming more and more evident every day. Advances in and deployment of connected vehicle technologies are going to change the way that we do in-vehicle payment systems and the way that we pay for tolls, for parking, for drive-through services, and so on. The E-ZPass group today already has branched into several of those areas, but using still the same RFID technologies that we're using today for tolling. I'm excited about seeing where the connected vehicle technologies take us in the future. I think the time is here again, like I said, where they're meeting. And I'm very excited and looking forward to getting more in our industry engaged in OmniAir so that we can all work together to advance these important technologies. 2024 is going to see OmniAir put on 2 plug fests and some webinars and workshops. And I encourage all of you to attend as many of those events as you can, and also to help us spread the word about the wonderful things that OmniAir is doing, because growth in our membership makes us all stronger. Well, thank you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Jason, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that was absolutely fantastic. I would encourage everybody, if you have questions for our guest speaker, please put those in the chat box. You can also raise your hand electronically. But PJ, maybe just talk a little bit more about that origin story, that because I think that's news to a lot of folks, that OmniAir really started out as a project within IBTTA's, was it Technology Committee? Is that right?
Yeah. So IBTTA is the International Bridge, Tunnel, and Turnpike Association. It is kind of the global umbrella organization that tolling entities from around the world belong to share ideas, share best practices, and to learn. IBTTA is not an operating arm. They are an organization that puts together meetings, education, and so on. It's a great place to incubate ideas and so on. And early on, as I said, in 1989 for the E-ZPass group, we saw that electronic tolling was coming. And as more and more entities put in electronic tolling, you had it now on the kind of Northeast, right, with us, and you had down South, and you had it in the central states, and you had some out West, and they all started implementing this tolling. We knew that at some point we would have to connect the dots. The public would want it, and it was the right thing to do. The problem was that none of those procurements happened in consultation with any of the other procurements. So what you had was all around the country, these different agencies selecting technologies that didn't communicate, didn't speak with one another. We had at one point 7 different tolling protocols, all very good, all very effective, but couldn't be used, across agencies. So IBTTA created OmniAir to help drive interoperability, to come to the goal was very simple back then, come to a simple understanding, a combined understanding, a joint understanding of what a file transmission would look like, how an agency could receive that file transmission, pay the associated tolls and so on, a very basic rudimentary message sets and so on for interoperability. That was the intent. That's how it started. And look where we are today, right? Today, OmniAir is, again, much more than a tolling program. And tolling is actually a very smaller piece of OmniAir now, and some would say rightly so. So that was kind of the history. That's how OmniAir got its start. It was all tolling people, and it's just morphed over the years.
Well, while we wait for that first raise the hand, let me ask one more question. So, give me your perspective on how the tolling industry views connected vehicles, the possibilities, what's coming over the horizon. Has been very successful with one methodology of electronic toll collection over the years, but why should tolling agencies really think about the world of connected vehicles?
Well, just as it happened to us in the late 80s and early 90s, when we saw the fundamental change that was going to be taking place, that very same thing is happening again, right? We don't make phone calls the way we did 30 years ago, right? We don't do the same things the same ways from 30 years ago. Today, we're paying tolls electronically the way we invented it basically 30 years ago. Technologies change. The fact that vehicles now can communicate with one another, with infrastructure, creates an environment where it may no longer be needed to establish a toll-paying account at an E-ZPass or a New Jersey Turnpike or a Texas Turnpike. I think it's going to change not just the technology that we use, because that technology will be embedded in the vehicle. It's going to change the whole relationship, right? The whole paradigm of our toll industry. Because if you don't have to go to an agency and set up an account and they give you a transponder to put in your window, then who, quote, owns the customer, right? And that's a big deal. That is a really big deal, because there's a lot of money implications there, right? For spending money and for making money, right? There's a lot of potential. And I could see third parties coming on relatively quickly and saying, I will, take the data from the vehicle, guarantee you the payment of that toll, and here's what I'm going to get. My relationship with the customer is going to get me this, right? So it's an exciting time. There's a lot to think through. E-ZPass wasn't just about technology, and the next version of it's not going to be just about technology, right? It's about the relationships with the customers. How does the back office work? How do the file specifications and the business rules work together to make that seamless transaction? And that's kind of why I think our members are going to be a lot more interested in the future in getting involved in connected vehicles, because it will impact each of them.
Well, what's impressed me about, I've been to a couple of E-ZPass board meetings now, and I've always seen you bring in, forward-looking futurist speakers to kind of think about that. I would imagine that the tolling agencies are thinking a lot about what
Yeah.
the future looks like, and not a year from now, but 10 years, 20 years. I mean, OmniAir's been around for some 20 years in one form or fashion, but if maybe you sort of look out into the future, 20 years from now, is the way that we pay for transportation, the services we get, how we use our relationship with this connected technologies, is it going to change substantially?
My gut says yes. Time will tell. I remember 20 years ago when we talked about VII, it's the connected vehicle thing, and how, in just a few years from now, every vehicle is going to, be connected, and, here we are, and it's just not true. But I have seen advances, especially by private parties, third parties that have brilliant ideas sometimes, right? And you have no idea how many times I get a knock at the door or, phone call going, "Hey, PJ, we have an idea for how we'd like to use E-ZPass," right? There's some wonderful ideas out there. Some of them are just a little bit ahead of their time, right? E-ZPass is primarily, and tolling entities in the US in general are primarily public agencies. There are some private entities doing tolling. Well, if there's one thing we all know is that public agencies don't move at the speed of light, right? We are very deliberate. We are very conservative, and there's reasons for that. I'm not knocking that. They all have bonds, so they have bond covenants and trust agreements. They have bond ratings. They're very protective of those. So every decision that's made is made very cautiously. But with that said, I think we all recognize that there are so many opportunities, and I'm not a patient man. I want to put those things into play today. I am ready for connected vehicles to get into tolling in a major way. I understand the problem with that. I get that the focus first and foremost has to be on safety, right? That's the reason for these devices. Will it enable other things? Second layer, third layer use cases?
Mhm.
Absolutely. In the future, you will pay for tolling with connected vehicle technology, for parking, for entry into state parks, charging your electric vehicle. These are all things that can be done with that unique identifier for the vehicle, right? That is tied in some way to a payment account that somebody, perhaps not a toll agency, manages. And so I'm very excited about the future. I just wanted to hurry up and get here because the potential is just amazing.
Well, that's fantastic. And let me just ask one more question. So, for those who are in the connected vehicle space, and they've worked with automotive OEMs and some states and cities, but never with tolling agencies, and they're thinking about maybe knocking on the door and trying to establish a relationship. And do you have any advice about working with the tolling community if you're coming from the connected vehicle world?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Like any other group or industry, we have some participants who are more conservative than others, and we have some who are more, I would call, forward-leaning, right, than others. Those get sorted out pretty quickly. My door is always open. If somebody wants to get put in front of a group of tolling people, reach out to me, or to a James Hoffman in Texas, or to whoever your kind of your tolling folks are in your region. Say, hey, really interested in getting this idea in front of you, or like to learn more about you so we can work together. We are always open to exploring new opportunities, new partnerships. I go through this all the time. We're bringing in a company for our next board meeting, which is in about 2 weeks, that very few people have ever heard about. And when I sat through an initial briefing that they were giving, presentation to one of our subcommittees, I was blown away. And I immediately invited them to come to our next board meeting. So that's how open we are. Yeah, we'd love to have relationships with all of you. Strength in numbers, right? Let's get together and figure out what's possible.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, you just might have some follow-up here. Let me just open the floor and see if we have any questions for our guest presenter.
Anybody but Michael Kolb.
That's right. Got you on mute, Michael.
And well, you did.
For Kenta, did anyone put anything in the chat box?
No, we don't have anyone in chat.
Okay,
Wonderful.
going once, going twice. So, PJ, I understand.
There's a
that you
hand.
are-
I see a hand up
Oh, we have one. Okay,
somewhere.
go ahead. Speak up.
David? No, never mind. It went away.
All right. So PJ, I
Okay.
understand you are a part-time Michigander. So hopefully that means that you'll be joining us for our Plug Fest. You can see some of this technology in action.
Not just the Michigander, Jason. I'm a part-time Youper, which is
Oh,
a special
That's
breed
that's
of
a serious Michigan. Yeah.
special breed of Michigander. But yes, we are blessed enough to be able to spend our summers in Upper Michigan, and so yeah, I'm very much looking forward to coming down to Plug Fest and seeing M City again, an amazing facility. You know, and Jason, we had you talked a little bit about M City before, but I also want to throw in, if you guys have never been to Florida's SunTrax site,
Mhm.
another phenomenal site. So it's nice to see these facilities, right, that are starting to come up around the country where we can do some serious testing.
I think it's great. I hear of new facilities, underway. Pennsylvania Turnpike is evidently developing something great.
They
So
are, yes.
really looking forward to seeing that. Maybe having a Keystone State Plug Fest one day. Well, fantastic. I see Maureen spreading rumors, but other than
Uh-oh.
that, I don't know that we have any other questions. Well, Mr. Wilkins, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cantlow to close us out.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, PJ, for joining us. We appreciate your time. We know you're so busy. Thank you, Jason. Everyone, thank you for joining us today. We will see you. If you'd like to join us tonight, we have our second call be repeated this morning, but we'd love to see you, of course. So you can join us at 6 p.m. Pacific or 9 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, we'll see you next month for Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.